Hi everybody, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you so much for joining us as we take a look at the weather forecast for the rest of this week and into the weekend. And as we said yesterday, we've got a large low on its way. And just like the one we had last week, it's not necessarily a storm, but it might produce some very localized stormy weather because of our mountains and ranges and also just the sort of setup that we've got coming in. But amongst it all, sunny spells and just typical winter weather as well. Here's the animated wind map. You can't even see the system I'm talking about yet. It hasn't shown up yet. Instead, we've got light winds around the country today. It was cold in the north. In fact, even Auckland got down to just 1 degree, but it was a smidgen warmer around the South Island thanks to a little bit of cloud, bit of a breeze blowing through as well. So this is how we look for Wednesday. It's pretty similar to Tuesday actually. Light winds, some morning frosts. They'll be mostly light. Some of them might be a bit heavier in the South Island, and a couple of showers just coming in the north here around Coromandel Peninsula, Great Barrier Island, and maybe some parts of Auckland. Not a great deal of change on Thursday as well. That little area of showers just lingers around the north, so that might just help keep the temperature up a little bit. But again, frosty in a number of areas, high pressure sort of centering over the country, even if there are a few coastal showers here and there. Now to Friday, and things start to warm up. For the first time in a while, the North Island's got subtropical winds coming back from the northwest. So it'll be a warm day, especially in the east and the north around the North Island. Then it gets windier the further south you go as you get closer to the low. You can see there's a lot of calm in the middle of the low there, and also the worst of the winds and the rain lining up here. So it actually calms down a wee bit behind the front. It's not as stormy. You know, there's some local pockets of stormy weather, even though it's not a storm, if that makes sense. A storm would see gales all the way around it. This has got gales in some areas of it, so it's one to keep an eye on. But at this stage, I do still see large areas of non-stormy weather as it comes through. But the worst of the wind and the rain on Friday on the west coast of the South Island, and the winds on the east coast moving into Cook Strait. Once we get to Saturday, the worst of the winds are now mostly out at sea based on this current modelling. So gusty, strong winds out here, very windy along the North Island's east coast, but it's mostly being produced between the centre of the low and the big high to the east. And this is obviously the squash zone, what we talked about the other day with the subtropical system. The winds aren't so bad down here in the south, and it's also dry again for you. And behind this front, it looks like things will also dry out again, but there could be some pretty heavy, slow-moving rain in the north with the high to the east blocking it. And obviously the deeper this gets, the closer it becomes to actually being a storm. Now into Sunday, and this is where the low really does change shape, and it does do what that subtropical system did last week. It stretches out. So the centre of the low sort of in this area, but now it's being pulled all the way down. So this is a big calm area with the windy weather going around it, squashed between the high over there and this high there. So it's rough again for some areas in the north, showery, windy, but there'll be some sunny spells as well, especially in some of these eastern areas. But the last thing I want to mention is the southerly that comes in here later on. So again, heavy rain for Southland and Otago, maybe snow on the mountains and ranges as well. So there's quite a lot to cover, and it only takes a little bit of a change in the shape of the low and suddenly the forecast change. So we'll keep you updated over the next few days. Before I go, congratulations to Emirates Team New Zealand. How awesome was that? I said on Twitter this morning, how does such a tiny little country like ours dominate so much in sport and even in business? It's really cool to see. So I'm sure, like many of you, we're all proud to be Kiwis today. Our next video out again tomorrow.